I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. And I have right from day one, I scrutinize every single ingredient and I broadcasted quite verbally out there, which has got me a few times into trouble, some of the things I say, but I'm not going to back down. And I think people, whether they love you or hate you, they do kind of like the fighter that has something to say, because I'm always going to make it interesting.
Explore the minds and marketing strategies behind today's winning brands and businesses. Tap into the power of the creator economy with Earned by CreatorIQ. Here's Conor Begley.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Earned. Today I've got Elaine and Rose-Marie from RMS. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. How are you?
I am doing great, and I am really excited for this. It was really fun for me to dig into the brand, and obviously you guys have had, a long history as well as a lot of kind of recent momentum around the brand, which has got to be really exciting. I'm excited to dive in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We're ready.
And just to set the stage, right, I'd love for you guys to give just a quick kind of 1 or 2 minutes on the founding of the brand, because I know that you guys have been working together for a long time. I think it's like 15 plus years. Obviously, Rose-Marie, you founded the brand prior to that, and Elaine, you were the CEO for a long time. Can you give them just kind of the short story on how the brand got founded? And I know there was some questionable laboratory practices that happened at the beginning as well that kind of brought you guys together. Tell the audience a little bit about that story.
My name is Rose-Marie Swift, obviously, and I've been a makeup artist ever since day one that I could remember, painting up my sisters and everything. I was a singer in a punk band and I wanted a new microphone. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to get a new microphone? So I decided to go and paint strippers. Now you have to remember, back in the day, they were not like you have nowadays. They were more like burlesque. They had a stage. They wore costumes.
Okay.
They didn't show everything. And so I just went around to all the girls painting them. And then I got an opportunity to do a cover of a magazine. I took the opportunity. And before I knew it, all of a sudden, I am rated as a so-called makeup artist that's, doing photo shoots. It just kept building from there and building and building. I ended up in New York after being in Europe for quite a few years. And basically, it's kind of funny because I got into a very good agency and then they got me into Victoria's Secret. And I started feeling guilty about the chemicals I was putting on these beautiful young girls. And it never looked the way I wanted it to look on the face. There was something different. There was this, it wasn't synergistic looking right for their skin. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to start playing around. And I was a raw foodist, so I learned a lot about that area of the business. How they handle oils and waxes and herbs and things like that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to kind of do this concept of skincare meets color, because I wanted to originally do skincare, but I thought, no, it's too competitive. I'm a makeup artist. Why don't I do color? So hence, this is how it started. I kept playing around with all of the colors and the textures, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then... and then comes Elaine when I needed to get it done in bulk.
So I was working at a manufacturing lab and I was an account executive, and I would get calls all day long from people who are, characters on reality shows today, former models, celebrities, moms that had, with their tender loving hands making their own like baby butt pastes. I mean, we had the whole gamut. A lot of people really wanted to make another version of Bare Minerals. Everybody wanted to make their own powdered mineral line. And Rose-Marie called one day. She was on set at Victoria's Secret. And in between telling me her story and what she was looking for, and she kept calling them her recipes, which of course we call them formulas. I could hear her oiling people up and reapplying lashes, and she'd get back on the phone. And she said to me, as I was already very intrigued, because this was the real deal. This was someone on set, a working professional makeup artist. And she clearly knew so much about beauty. But she said to me, and the whole concept is going to be, I call it green beauty, because it's all going to come from Mother Nature. And I loved that concept, and it was extremely disruptive. And just, again, nobody who was calling me every day with these great ideas or wanted their formulas made had this position that Rose-Marie did. And so I immediately was like, yes, absolutely. The best part is we didn't do color cosmetics really there. We mostly did gels, creams, and lotions. And so the lab was very new and in its infancy. And so I was, I basically took on the project without permission, but talked with the chemist and said, like, if this is all going to be cream-based makeup, we can do this. This is in line. And so slowly started, every day Rose-Marie, she would be on set testing something and say, no, I don't like how this luminizer looks, or I took this on set, this eye polish, the colors aren't right. I mean, we really, like, for a year and a half, 2 years, I watched her create this and I was in the background. So when that last living luminizer came off the, conveyor belt, I said, all right, Rose-Marie, what's next? Do you have a website? Do you have a sales team? And she said,
Nothing.
nothing. I don't have it. I'm a makeup artist. And she goes, you do it. And the owner of the lab was very questionable in a lot of his practices. And I just didn't feel like they were poised for growth. And I just didn't align with a lot of the way he was running the business. And so I said, all right, let's go for it. So we took the luminizers and I took myself and we got out of there. And here we are 15 years later.
From what I understand, you had to kind of rescue the product at one point, right? It was like
I was wondering
almost
how
got
deep we're going to go
seized.
on this. Go for it, Elaine. You keep going, Elaine.
I mean, I'm never worried about getting hired by a lab again, fortunately. But at the time, yes, I called her and I was like, you need to get everything out of here now. Like, there was definitely people from like the EPA and
I'm in France. She's calling me in Paris. I was doing a French Vogue and I go, honey, I'm in Paris, but I don't know what to do. You do it. You handle it.
I did, and I moved it all out within like a day into a lab here, or a storage facility here in Charleston, South Carolina. And I mean, we put out a website and we sent our first email and we thought, oh my God, this is, here we go. If you build it, they will come. And it's definitely not that way, but we worked side by side building it. And I don't miss that lab, I'll say it that way. And we had to quickly not only pivot into finding storage, but we needed another lab now because we were hoping this was going to take off. And so we were right back where we started almost in a way too at the very beginning.
It's funny. I think the kind of overnight success story, it's like one of those cliches that just doesn't really happen. It's like my co-founder and I have been together for 12 years, I think. So we're like, coming up on kind of how long you guys have been working together. So one of the trends I'd love to dive into, and this is one of the things that I think is most fascinating about kind of our conversation, is over the last 5 to 10 years, I've really seen kind of category experts emerge as some of the most successful brand founders, right? Whether that's a professional makeup artist, a professional hairstylist, kind of on down the list. And part of that, from my observation, is, a lot of your clients, like a Giselle, right, have gone from being just a celebrity to some of the largest publishers in the world, right? She's got a bigger audience than almost all the magazines. So I'm curious, from your perspective, why do you think brands like yours have really, outside of these, or maybe even inclusive of these celebrity relationships you've built up over time, what is it that's caused these category expert brands to really kind of explode?
Well, it's interesting because, when I did start this and had it all ready to go, I was very lucky to have the girls of this caliber to promote me without having to, get advertising and putting an ad in a magazine. And there is something that really makes a statement when somebody's doing a product and they really know what they're talking about. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. And I have right from day one, I scrutinize every single ingredient and I broadcast it quite verbally out there, which has got me a few times into trouble, some of the things I say, but I'm not going to back down. And I think people, whether they love you or hate you, they do kind of like the fighter that has something to say, because I'm always going to make it interesting. Plus, I do it at the same time as I have a little bit of a comedic streak also, so that, people can kind of relate to me as more of a, like a layman's makeup artist rather than some celebrity makeup artist. It's all fancy schmancy going around to all the, the private jet jobs.
Well, you were doing Victoria's Secret. That's pretty big. Those are pretty big names there.
That was fun.
But Elaine, from your perspective, why do you think it is that brands that have, celebrity hairstylists or professional makeup artists have really done so well recently, or recently being the last 5-10 years?
There's several buckets. I mean, celebrities or celebrity makeup artists or, people who already have this massive following or platform, they're just going to have this audience and they already have a built-in customer. Stores want to partner with them because they hope that they're going to, hello, JLo, will you bring in your customers to Sephora for us type of examples? And so there's definitely a wonderful bucket there. But I also think there's a bucket where customers, myself even as a customer, like I look at it and say, if I'm going to buy a glycolic peel for my face, I'm going to buy it from a doctor or a dermatologist based brand because I trust that. If I'm going to buy a teeth whitening product, I'm not going to buy it myself from an influencer. I'm going to buy it from, a dental brand. It's the same thing with makeup. If you really want beautifully made makeup that will work on camera, will work in person, will work, when you're out to dinner with your friends, a makeup artist really knows what works and how to get that quality. And so I think over time, our products have stood the test of time. They speak for themselves. They have such a great reputation, the quality of the products. And it's because Rose-Marie is such a scrutinizing creative who, wants to take it on set. And also, I think there's a level of Rose-Marie puts her name on the brand. She wants to be really proud of it. She's not going to just take formulas off the shelf that could be okay. They come from her heart because it's so apparent that it's who she is. And I think that's why you're absolutely right. There are these experts creating very leading brands. And I think they're going to be the ones that really stand the test of time.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing that you had a lot of the barriers that had historically existed, whether it was amount of money you needed to start or the ability to get distribution, right? Like you can sell on your website now versus having to go immediately into retail. There's a bunch of things that have been removed that allow really smart, kind of deep category experts to get out there and start their own thing, right? And then in a lot of ways, to your point, they're the ones creating the best products as well because they're the ones that know the category best, right? They're scrutinizing it deeply.
I hate to interrupt you, but one of our brand pillars is passion. And I think Rose-Marie is so passionate about the brand and clean beauty, and that resonates. And I think people know it. Like people can tell. Like, or when you see, some of these celebrity, hairstylists talk about their products and their passion for it, whether it's, protecting people's scalps. I mean, it really comes across. And so there is something there, that connection that these experts have and really bring to the table in the marketplace, I think, in a way that other people just can't.
I'm curious, looking at our data, right? So we track all these influencers and celebrities and publications. And it's been really cool to watch you guys, particularly over the last year, where you're now growing over 50% year over year in EMV or like influencer conversation. What is it? What have you guys changed or shifted that you think's led to this kind of surge in momentum across that ecosystem?
If I could jump in, and I'm obsessed with my Tribe Dynamics dashboard. It's like the first thing I check. I will tell you, my EMV is actually 412% year over year when I logged in today. So,
okay, awesome.
I will say, love the dashboard. It's like I don't even check the stock, market. I go straight to like my EMV. But Rose-Marie, I mean, I'll let you answer that question of why you think really over the last year it's resonated.
Well, the majority owner is Highlander, and we have a great working relationship with them. They understand where my headspace is, and they don't try to interrupt or have this tunnel vision on how it should be. And this is how they've done it all these years. This is, again, back into why I didn't want to be with a big cosmetic brand. And I like the fact that they're letting me continue being a little bit of a pioneer and, stepping over the normal boundaries. I just get along with them, and they put in money. We got billboards. We've got and then Elaine has been the star. Actually, I have to say, she kept saying to them, we got to get her on TikTok. Me, I'm an older person. Some of the people from Highlander are older, so they're not quite vibing the TikTok thing to its full extent, where Elaine was TikTok, we got to put her on. Now I have time to do all this because I don't have time anymore to fly around with the models. Plus, I'm getting just too old. I need a break. I did it so long. And so Elaine kept saying, let's go on TikTok. Let's just try it out. And boom, we can see, how we're doing. And then all of a sudden, once I went on TikTok, it was just like, boom, because I was offering something that wasn't all covered up in filters. But, they like seeing a mature woman going up there and doing her makeup, but not with all these steps, this paint by number thing. So it's just really, really catapulted everything up. And I didn't realize that I had the kind of ability to go up there and actually, Svengali, an audience for my age, and to show them how to do makeup that's easier, that is just more beautiful, highlights, it makes you youthful with the light reflective glow that I have in my products, the radiance. And it just took off, and it just kept going. And we've got the young people that are loving it because I'm funny, and I throw in a few young girls that I know and put some makeup on them, and it just has worked. And thanks, Elaine. She made me do it. It's her fault.
I was just looking it up while you were chatting, and I think Rose-Marie Swift as like a term, it's got 28 million views on TikTok. Like that's pretty wild. Like that again, you never would have just never, like you said, like TikTok, why am I going to do this?
Because I've always been behind the scenes. I would watch the models, look at their pictures, and I remember this is really interesting, is I used to watch Giselle, and she would go like this, and she'd rock her head back, and she'd literally be analyzing everything. I always used to wonder, what is she doing? Well, now that I'm in the position where I'm behind the camera, I actually find myself doing that too, where I'm looking and I'm like listening, and I'm like, who is that? It's very interesting. So now I know what she was doing.
Oh my God, it's so weird. My co-founder was like, oh my God, I love this podcast. It was like the last one I did. And like, I listened to a full podcast of myself, and it's like, this is so weird.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't feel like it's me that I'm listening to for whatever reason.
Yeah, you have to know your voice. Like all of a sudden, oh my God, that's my voice. Because we're hearing something completely different inside, and I'm looking at something different. I have a little trick where I keep all my mirrors really like kind of dirty, so it looks all soft-focused. So then when you see yourself, I'm serious. I'm not lying when I say that. Look at my mirrors I use to do my makeup, because I just want to pretend I'm still perfectly flawless, but obviously not. So when I do see myself without all the filters on there, I just like, oh man.
Videos energize people. I mean, that's why the EMV went crazy. Now we have so many people that the first thing they say when the video opens is, I saw this woman on TikTok do XYZ. I'm going to try it. And it sparks them to create their own content. So yes, our EMV has grown because Highlander has definitely infused capital and money, but the organic content is unbelievable. And that all is coming from people who are inspired by what she's saying, and they're taking it back and trying it. And they, they want to talk about what's really like trending right now. And Rose-Marie's definitely trending in the TikTok world.
I also make it user friendly. When I watch some of these makeup artists, granted, some of them are amazing, but it's just too much makeup. When I call it out, it's too much makeup. Mostly for a woman, as you mature, you cannot get away with that. You're going to look like a hag, And I say it right now as it is. So I think people kind of like go, whoa, did she just say that? Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh. I think there's something also, like one of the things I think is really special about the internet is you can find somebody that like has similar tastes to you, or you aspire to be, or that looks like you, or whatever. And like, that wouldn't be something that would necessarily have been in a glamour magazine in the past. Right. And so I think the ability to be kind of aspirational to people that, like you said, are maybe a little more mature or don't want to follow what the 25-year-old is doing from a makeup perspective is like really powerful. And putting yourself out there is not something that, like, I started publishing maybe 9 months ago, and I'm, whatever, mid to late 30s. And like, even for me, it felt unnatural, right? Like, this feels unnatural. Like, I'm in this business and it feels unnatural. Yep. Putting yourself out there is not something a lot of people are willing to do.
Yeah, agreed.
So curious. So the brand's been doing really well. This is really exciting. Has it really been kind of primarily TikTok and social? Or do you think there are other things that are driving that success as well outside of the Highlander investment?
There's a lot of it. I mean, honestly, and it's showing in our social numbers. There was 1 month this summer, we were the number 16 fastest growing beauty brand on Instagram. So it's not just TikTok. So a lot of what works on TikTok doesn't always work on Instagram and vice versa. But we take that great content of Rose-Marie's that goes viral, and we create it for that platform in its own, native version. And so that's also just really been an awesome outlet for us too. I would also say we've had unbelievable products. Like, you can't do this with just a whip smart founder like Rose-Marie. You have to have really good products that once they land in people's hands, they love. We had a blush that went viral, and that really puts a lot of wind in your sails when you have something selling out everywhere. Our stores would tell us, like, Credo, people would come into Credo holding like a screenshot from their phone saying, you have this blush. I really want this blush. This woman's telling me how to put it on. Like, I need to get this. So I think it's been a great combination of our team is really great at what they do. Rose-Marie, we've like had her like poised and ready to go. And we put her out at the the best time, and the products followed suit. So if you don't have all three of those at like max performance, you're not going to get what we've seen this year. And it's been awesome, and just I think very, very well deserved for Rose-Marie, because it's great recognition. We sort of laugh, like everywhere she goes, she gets recognized. It's like the cutest thing. I love it so much, but it happens to her every day for a reason. So, I mean, it's just because the brand has just been out there so well received, and people are talking about it.
It's hard to really dissect why something goes viral. From your perspective, why do you think the blush went viral? What was it that was kind of the spark that led to the virality?
Well, one thing is how I tell people to apply it. I don't just hand them a blush, here, put your blush on, you know where it goes from what you've been doing all your life. I actually come with instructions, and they're quite strong, and they're very opinionated, but there is something to be said for all the expertise and all the years I've been doing this. One of the examples is the blush, never put it below your nostrils because it pulls the face down. As an older woman, we want to lift that face. So you lift the blush up higher and you'll just get a better expression. It just looks more youthful. So it comes along with some little comment and some little instruction, and I make it funny. I show people on myself. It's just that extra step where sometimes when you see somebody doing a beautiful makeup job, they're not really telling you what they're doing. They're not really telling you exactly where it's placed. People can watch all they want, but not everybody is very, very creative to just, sit back and mimic that. So when you tell them and you point it out, you show where and why and how, it really works.
Yeah, I think that fun element is really underrated, right? Like, you want content to be fun. Like, you want it's not just about education. It's not just about, obviously from a sales perspective, not just about sales. I think having it be fun and entertaining is critical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. So I'm curious, kind of pivoting to your guys' relationship specifically. It's not often that people work together for as long as you guys have worked together. So I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit. Was that the plan the whole time? Were you guys like, this is what we're doing the next couple decades? Or was it?
I've got to answer this. Let me tell you what this woman did to me. Okay, so I'm living in New York, right, painting all the malls. And I thought, but I better have something down in Charleston. And she goes, oh, no, you're not moving to Charleston. You will drive us all batty. Because you cannot move to Charleston. So I moved to Savannah, so like I'm 2 hours away.
Get a little bit of distance.
But that's
like,
the
she
honest
can get
truth.
here,
She
but she
said
can't
that
be
to
here
me.
every day.
I called every realtor. I was like, don't take her number.
Were there challenges most, right? Because a lot of the brands that are built today are like New York, LA. Were there challenges being kind of more of a, out of the kind of main cities in building the brand, or any challenges there?
There are a million challenges regardless where you run a business 1,000%. Fortunately, Charleston, the boom that it has experienced in the last like 8 to 10 years has been really positive for us. Our director of PD, who Rose-Marie and I both like love so much, and she's like, she helped create that blush. I mean, she's so, great. She wanted to come from Texas. Like, who's going to say no to moving to Charleston? So recruiting people, especially out of New York, has never really been a challenge. And this is pre-COVID, back when everybody was in person and remote really didn't exist. And we are very much like a team built culture. I always wanted everybody under one roof, pre-COVID back in the day. So no, it wasn't hard to get people here from other places, because Charleston's such a great place to be. I would say it's the harder thing is just recruiting some of these experts in the beauty space that would come without like a bias, like, this is how we did it at Estee Lauder, this is how we did it here or there. Like, our challenge was finding people that would come into RMS Beauty with a fresh perspective, because we're not like other brands. We're not overly corporate. We were not, it was just me, Rose-Marie, and like a handful of people. For the longest time, I could count on one hand and have fingers left over. And that was our team. But we were running a team that size, that head count, and we were doing the same business as people with 30, 40 people. Like, it was, we really just found the right people to come in place. And so, it's that old tired expression, but like hire slow, fire fast. We really took so much care into everyone we brought in, especially if we were asking them to come here and bring their families and create a life here. So it wasn't the hardest part of it. I think the best part has just been the people, like I just mentioned. We're celebrating 5, 6, 7-year anniversaries. It's not just me. There's another one, somebody who works in our warehouse. She's been with us nearly 7 years. So it's a great testament.
Often people underestimate, like, it's like, I'm 12 years in. I'm better today than I was 3 years ago. And 3 years before that, I was better than I was then, right? And on and on and on. And I think often, you get somebody, they're there for a year. It takes you a year to like figure out the company and the brand and, and then like another 6 months to have any impacts that's meaningful. And then people leave. And it's like, well, why? What was the point of that? So I love that. And then I think specifically on your guys' relationship, I'd be curious, like, how has that evolved from when you first started together to like, I'd imagine now you guys don't even have to hardly talk to know what the other one's thinking at this point, right?
Well, we're very, very honest to each other. We have our disagreements, of course, but we just speak it out, speak our
Yep.
minds, and we usually get it settled very easy. And she'll listen to what I have to say from a makeup artist perspective, and I listen to her what she has to say as it's the bunny perspective and the accountability for the price of things. And so it kind of works out really well. We just have always got along. But in all honesty, I think it has helped that I'm not there, being a hawk and micromanaging all these girls. And I've given them their freedom. Elaine, even the girls that Elaine's, over, she lets them do their thing also. And that is just showing respect. And it lets the employee be more creative. They feel more valuable, and they like that. They don't want to be over the top of them all the time,
I think also Rose-Marie is that like quintessential creative. I mean, I always say to her, like, I won't let you come to the office because you would go into a corner and cry if you had to see like what we do sometimes, like what spreadsheets that come across. I mean, that would stifle her creativity. Like if she saw what like an RTV looked like, or, I mean, that to her would paralyze her. So I always said that it wasn't as much like, you'll drive me crazy, but it's like, I need you to be at your best. And that's not under this roof. Yes. And she protects me the same way. Like she knows when I need space, or, we want the best for each other's lives professionally and personally. So we make decisions. We literally make decisions for each other all the time without
it's just a perfect balance. It just works. And she's not trying to get into my territory. I'm not trying to get into her territory. We don't have egos that are clashing, and it just makes for a real powerful relationship. And, she hasn't left and I haven't left.
I mean, I think the critical element there is trust, right? You trust each other to do the right thing. And even if it isn't the perfect thing or the way that you would have done it, like that's okay, right?
I would also say each other's feedback. That's the only feedback I care. Not that I don't care about others, but like that's the feedback that I prioritize. And I think she does too. Like when she gets off like a QVC show, or if Rose-Marie, like if we sit together filming something, she's like, how is that? Or what could I do better? And same thing with me. I'll be like, I want to show you something, but like, what do you think? Like we really, I think, we talk about everything, talk a lot.
We're like husband and wife.
We are. Yeah.
So when my co-founder and I started, we lived in the same house. So we'd like wake up, eat breakfast together, go to work all day, come back, eat dinner together, wake up at 3 a.m, talk. We did that for the first 3.5 years. And then actually when we left, like, he got married, I got married. We like didn't have those communication times. So we had to the point of feedback, like make it more intentional afterwards. But yeah, I can definitely tell how close your relationship is. I think some of my favorite episodes that we've done were when we had both people, the two people leading the company on the show, whether that was the Beekman boys at Beekman 1802 or the Glow Recipe founders. My co-founder and I have been on a podcast together. I think it's really special. I can tell it's a special relationship. So one of the bigger decisions that you guys had to make as a team was to bring on Highlander, right? And this is in 2021, which was, it was a great time to bring on a financial partner. I'm curious how you guys thought about that decision. Like, why was that the right time? Because I know in the past you had some concerns, right, about bringing in a financial partner that might hurt the brand in some way. So what made you decide that was the right time? And then why Highlander?
David Olson, who was with Net-a-Porter, is a very good friend of mine. And, when these guys have a position like that, these equity firms all like scoop them up to get, brands for them. And that's exactly what happened. So David kept coming around and I, just saying, David, you're my friend. Like, what are you talking about? And Elaine, you can take it from there.
I think for so long, like if I really think about it, we were happy being really niche and doing things our own way. Like if there was like a rule book, Rose-Marie and I were like, if it's not best for the brand or best for us or whatever, we're not going to do it. And so we turned down a lot of things. We turned down a lot of opportunities, but they weren't the right thing for our brand or our customers. And, we just got to this point where we really we liked being in that little kind of bubble of a, they're indie brands that still do, 50, 90 million. And we were happy as like an indie brand where we were. But we got to this point where we were ready for it to go to the next level. People wanted more from us. We wanted to grow. And you have to bring in a partner that can really professionalize and bring in these teams and do all the things Rose-Marie and I also don't want to do. And we talked with everybody. I mean, it's the whole, you have to turn over a lot of rocks to find a diamond. And, David and I sold him product at Derm Store. I sold him product at Net-a-Porter. Like, you know what I mean? So we really knew him very well. And everyone from the team that they introduced to us, it was so natural. It was like every other time we got really close, Rose-Marie and I just still weren't there. And we liked what they brought to the table, but we didn't always love them. And like, we love David. So it just was a very natural fit and he fits in so well with us. So it really, honestly, like we talk about this all the time. There's so many friends that we have that have done investments with their brands and have like horror stories. And
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'll let Rose-Marie.
That's what scared me.
Yeah.
Well, even some of the people that were, speaking with us, they were already telling us what to do. And it's like, oh, that's not the way to get me. You know what I mean? I'm kind of my own little woman here. And I'm very opinionated. And I don't, just because you have a big, huge corporation behind you doesn't mean I respect you at all. And I don't want to go down that route. I don't want to be involved with old people, even though I'm an old person that has tunnel vision that can't see past the way it used to, the way it's always been done. So I knew it wouldn't work with any of them. I just knew the vibe wasn't there. Some of them were all nice and friendly, but as soon as you do that signature, it's going to twist. And I've been warned from quite a few friends, not just in the beauty industry, but other people that I know that have companies and have taken on an investor. So I just wanted to be very, very, very careful. And, Elaine and I would discuss what was going on behind the scenes when they're talking to her secretly, and then they're talking to me secretly. So, so there was a lot of little games back and forth. So, I don't know. I think we made the best choice. We're so happy. And they don't really tell us what to do. We have, everybody puts their input in. They make their suggestions on what they do best. And we make our suggestions on what we do best. We're not just having an investor that comes in and just starts saying, well, this is what we got to do now, when they don't even know anything about the beauty industry. And I kind of like the fact that they don't have a beauty brand. It's worked in our favor very, very, very well, because they're open to our way of looking at the world. I see a little munchkin in the back there.
She came to give me a, I don't know, a pom-pom.
That's precious.
Thanks, baby. That's her first appearance on the show.
Aww.
There you go.
When they came in, I mean, and again, like a lot of these groups come in and they clean house and they really, it's like musical chairs and there was none of that. And like everything they promised, like I said, like, we're not cleaning house, right? And they said like, whatever you want. Like it was a nice transition.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it was not a critique of what we've done or decisions we made. It was more of a soft landing into like how they were going to come in and how they wanted to help grow it. And it was, I mean, Rose-Marie and I have been at the table with all of that decision making and because they really care and they trust Rose-Marie too. Like they want, her input and her vision, because that's what started everything. We get to now, like Rose-Marie said, we get to do more of the fun stuff. Like, I'm like, all right, well, if I don't have to deal with, P&Ls, can I get on the TikTok side of stuff? Like we get to those are TikTok. We get to TikTok now. So, again, I couldn't pick one bad thing to say about it because we've been very, very like we got in the right. We landed with our bum in the butter.
Yeah. So, I mean, so David's now actually become, CEO of the company. Like you said, you're not having to worry about the P&L anymore, which is fun. So I'm curious now, as he's like kind of the third leg to the stool, what has he brought that you feel like is unique to the business?
Well, he's like 3 offices over. He's here right now. So he's really great. He's super hands-on. I just think he's a great leader. He's done it in so many different environments. So it's great. He brings all of those kind of learnings from all the different roles that he's had within beauty. But again, I think he's a lot of fun. I would say like when him and Rose-Marie and I are together, we like get dinner and like, we can talk about things because we have a very comfortable, relationship. And it's not like,
like family.
Yeah, and that's what you want. Like, is this business is everything to Rose-Marie and I, and it's everything to him too. So,
We
I
all
think
respect each other.
yeah, and there's a lot of respect.
Yeah.
I will also say, like, and I tell my friends who have brands who ask how it's going, and they see the growth. It's not, they're
Yeah.
not lying,
Yeah.
but they're really excited. But I say, like, frankly, like, they professionalize the living daylights out of this company. It's unbelievable what
Mm.
they've done in 2 years, and it's why we wanted them. Like, I'm not an ops expert. I couldn't tell you about supply chain, and this was like in a post-COVID world where, like, air freight was, $60,000. Like, we have this one joke. There's one gentleman who he's great. I'm like, I think he invented Excel in his basement, like, when he was 7 years old. He is an expert. Like, they're just, they brought in, like, really incredible professionals that
Yeah.
do things from other, lenses and perspectives that have ballooned the brand. And so the investment piece, it wasn't just money. They invested really with great talent, and that's made all the difference in the world.
So we'll do one end of show question. That's not surprising. I think that having somebody bringing that perspective, I think, is valuable, right? As long as it doesn't become stifling, which it hasn't. So I'm curious, as a founder, right? You have these kind of middle of the night ideas. Like at one point we do a lot of like events, and this was during the pandemic. I'm like, let's do a 24-hour event. We'll start here. We'll have speakers go full 24 hours across APAC, EMEA, US, et cetera. What's the craziest idea that Rose-Marie has had that hasn't happened yet, but that maybe you should consider, or that you've thought about having happen?
I don't know. Elaine, can you think of something?
I mean, I feel like sometimes we wake up in the middle of the night and we're like, you need to write a book, or like,
Oh, yeah. That one's
we've
coming
had
up.
those kinds of moments, but I don't know if that's like wild or like unpredictable. I think it was wild when we were like, let's put Rose-Marie on TikTok. I mean, I do think there was.
That is probably the one. I think that one, I mean, not wild, but I mean, smart, and ended up working out really well.
I remember Elaine fooled me really terribly on this, and she said, "I'm going to come down. Let's just pretend to do some. We'll just do some, see how they look and everything." I turn around and it's already on TikTok. I had no say. The lighting wasn't very good. The camera angle wasn't very good. And I'm like, oh my God, I look like a hag. I didn't have my lipstick on just to, embellish my lips a bit. And so I was traumatized, but I didn't realize that because I had no lipstick on, because I didn't have a filter on, that everybody was liking it. And I actually didn't want to do it anymore. I said, no. But when I go, she brought up quickly at the airport, people recognizing me. But when I see older women my age coming up and just freaking out and going, oh my God, I'm meeting a movie star, I'm just like, are you kidding me? But it makes me feel really good because they're my age. And even young people come up. So it freaked me out that they put me on like that, completely vulnerable with we were just testing it out. And then they posted it and it went I think one went up to 4.9 million.
We did. And if we just posted this Instagram over the weekend, we had hit 500,000 followers, and we posted something like, what does RMS mean to you? And there's this one comment, Rose-Marie, because Rose-Marie, right, it is more mature women, but there was a comment, I think this person was probably, I'd guess, like in their 20s or 30s. And she said something like, I love watching Rose-Marie's video because I can see what my future looks like and it looks really good. And I thought that was
that was the best. Yeah.
It's great. It's not just like mature people who really like resonate with her TikToks. It's, these like 20 and 30-year-olds who like want to preventively look great. And so
I would definitely say that's the most controversial, because even David was saying, oh no, like TikTok, really? Because we were all kind of like, you think of TikTok as being for the young people, but that's not true at all. Not at all.
I mean, my mom, who's in the other room, is all over TikTok every day, right? It's like the fastest growing segment. And to your point, I think that I also think one of the things that's happened too is the way that people get information has changed. I think historically, the mom knew all the brands, told the daughter, these are the brands you should buy. And now often it's like the younger generation's discovering these brands on TikTok and then saying like, hey, mom, you need to check this out, right? Yeah. Even if it's not necessarily for them. And so I think that has very much reversed in terms of how that information kind of gets shared. But yeah, that's awesome. And good on you and good on David for doing it, even though you weren't sure if it was the right thing.
And what's funny too is when you read the comments, people are like, oh, she's my favorite influencer. It's like, she's like people think when it pops up in their feed, because it's not from like Rose-Marie personally, it's RMS, but people think she's an influencer. So it's really,
You know, I
it's
love it when people come up to me, oh my God, you're always coming up on my feed. And I go, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Oh my God, I love it. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking out the time. Congrats on all the success over the years and particularly more recently. It's really cool to watch. And I'm so glad we got the chance to chat and meet. It's really, really impressive what you guys have done.
Oh, thank you, Connor. It was great being on here. It was fun. I love laughing.
It's a good time. It's a good time. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Be a friend, tell a friend, and subscribe. Earned by CreatorIQ. CreatorIQ is your all-in-one solution to grow, manage, scale, and measure your influencer marketing program. Ready to unlock the power of the creator economy? Get started with a demo today at CreatorIQ.com.